널 기다렸어.
What's up, boys and girls? Welcome back to Pro League 2016. I'm Tasteless, joined by my brother from a different mother, Valdez.
I've never heard you say that, Tasteless. I'm glad you said it at least
once. That's one of the things you got to do when you cast for a living, Valdez. You got to get all the words in the English language, all the phrases.
You got to mix it up.
That's right.
You got to get the best words in here, the best phrases.
People that watch us all the time, they start to pick up on my patterns. I got to mix it up. I got to stay elusive, Valdez.
Everybody knows that casters have the best words anyway. It's not Donald Trump. It's actually Tasteless.
Well, Donald Trump has the best memes. We can at least say that. That guy is a meme machine.
Yeah, he
Have you followed him on Twitter?
He eats that up, man.
Have you followed him on Twitter?
I've seen some stuff on Reddit.
His Twitter is like literally indistinguishable from satire. Okay, like.
But it's good. I mean, you know, young people actually bond with him. Not saying that I support him, but
the dumb ones do. But
well, it works. You know, he's working that Twitter.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We are going to be going into game number 3. There is a shot of Stork.
There's the girlfriend of Hurricane. And
if you saw that video, that was pretty cute at the end there.
Yeah.
The whole studio was cracking up when that came out. So, you know, we've got these two great teams. It's been pretty neck and neck so far. How do you think game 3 is going to go?
I'm thinking that Ryung is going to take this one. Actually, Ryung is looking better and better slowly. It's taking him a while to get back to like where he actually was, a while ago. Reality's not bad too, though.
He's fine.
This is actually the hardest decision for me in the entire day. This game right here, because it's pretty close.
Who takes this.
It's really close.
Frankly, you could flip a coin. On this one.
I mean, Reality's got some really good TVT, but so does Ryung. So. It came down to form for me right now. You know, Reality's not doing much. You see him in no individual leagues that I can tell. I think he might be an SSL challenge, maybe like Group D or Group C, but I'm not 100% sure.
I think the point is that's pretty low down on the totem pole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't discern a lot from that.
He doesn't get there consistently, too. So,
right.
You know.
Well, we'll see what happens today. We're going to be going into this match in just a little bit here. It's good to be back with you, Valdez.
Yeah, it's fun.
We got these new outfits.
Yeah, we got our...
What do you think of these outfits we got on?
Kind of feel like pajamas. They're really comfortable.
They feel like pajamas.
I feel like good for the summer, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I should be wearing like a Snuggie or something as we do this. I like that we're mixing up the wardrobe here.
Yeah, I'm just glad we got some new clothes for round 3, you know? It's the new theme here.
I feel like I'm in my caster pajamas right now.
That's basically what these are.
It's like you and me are having a sleepover.
Yeah.
Like we came over to my mom's
Stay
house.
here all night.
We got Home Alone 2 on VHS. We're gonna stay up all night eating Twizzlers, talking about girls.
Oh yeah.
Casting Starcraft 2.
I brought my sleeping bag over.
That's right.
Sleeping on your
I got
floor.
my backpack where I brought way too many things for a one-night sleepover. I've got like a deck of cards in there. You know, maybe a board game.
Oh yeah, you got Monopoly in there.
A bag with a variety of different jelly beans. You know, maybe 3 of my favorite action figures.
Yeah. We play with some of those for sure.
But let's make no mistake, Valdez. I'm not going to let you play with my action figures, okay?
What?
I'm that kid. These are
You're
all
that
mine.
kind of friend?
I'm that
You're
friend.
no
I'm like,
friend
this is
of
my
mine.
house, my toys, my rules. Quiet, Valdez. We're doing the opening.
I can't contain my excitement, Tasteless.
Okay. In the upper left, in the red, Ryung.
Looks like he's been practicing.
In the bottom left, in the blue, Reality.
Samsung bringing the all-black outfits with the white outline, looking pretty good. No jackets. It's summer now, so you gotta mix it up.
For those of you guys that are watching, I'm sure most of the people that are watching this are not in Korea. But yeah, it's very common in Korea to always rotate on in a TV show or anything that's like, you know, a broadcast style, to rotate outfits out depending on the seasons. Which actually, I don't believe they do that in the States, as far as I know. I think they just.
I don't think so. Actually,
I don't think so.
You're right. Yeah, that's a shame. They should pick up on that. You know, Korea's doing a good job with their production. All the companies over here now competing, trying to up their game. That's
Well, I
some
mean,
good,
it's kind of
healthy
crazy, right?
competition.
I mean, we're at the point where esports has just gotten so big, you know? I mean, the dream is real, guys. Esports is everywhere, especially in Korea. I mean, there's like...
Oh, yeah.
I've actually lost count of how many studios there are doing different games. It's just like nonstop.
Yeah. I mean, there's the 3 big ones, but then there's also like 3 or maybe even like 4 other Korean studios that are doing stuff.
It's like 5 or 6 now, man. There's
wow.
There's some that I can't even remember the names of, but I mean, it just there's all this esports all the time, and so it's really exciting. I mean, it's like the pro gamer dream, the esports dream is just becoming a reality. You know, where now there's all sorts of leagues you can compete in Korea, outside Korea. It's a beautiful thing.
That's good. Esports is obviously our job, too, so that means that we're not going anywhere either, Tasteless.
That's right, guys. We got a lot of great esports events to cast for you. And again, guys, and I'm going to be saying this a couple times throughout the broadcast, but tell your friends to join us here. A lot of people don't know that this has been moved to the weekend. So I think for most of our viewers, it's probably better if it's on a weekend, right? You can stay up all night, not miss work, not miss school.
Look at this. This might just be a scout. Let's see what he wants to go for. Generally, you may want to build your buildings a little bit closer, as Dusk Towers is a very big map. But then again, if you make it too close, if you're going for a proxy, then you might get it scouted. But yeah, it's just a scout. He was just chilling over there trying to avoid the Reaper, and he's going to come in late.
Okay, so we got the third base coming down here. Now, it's important to note on this map, especially because it's a Terran versus Terran, this could be like a really long game. This could be like a really, really long game because this map gets cut in half very easily. Now we have some Marines getting gunned down here early on, and well, maybe if he gets in here and does a lot of damage, it won't be a long game. But generally speaking, this map gets cut in half so easily.
Yeah, I mean, Ryung is looking to do some harassment early on, but once this Hellion comes out, he will be pushed away. Let's see how much damage he can get done here. It's like he's going to snipe one SCV for now.
Good targeting there on the SCV that's actually holding gas, because that SCV then can't run back inside. So a nice kill there, and he actually keeps the Reapers alive. Ryung is just a very solid TVT player. I mean, this is a guy who way back in the early days of Wings of Liberty, if you guys were following since the beginning, this is a guy who was mentored by Slayer's Boxer.
Yeah, and that's not something that every player can say generally. I mean, Boxer, definitely one of the smartest players to ever have played the game of StarCraft, so having him as a coach is pretty damn cool.
Well, it's kind of crazy because like Slayer's Boxer was the guy that really actually figured out micro. And I know this is going to sound weird because I'm sure most of our viewers are probably younger than me. I mean, I'm like Grandpa Tasteless of esports.
Yeah, you literally are
man,
now.
Yeah. But well, hold on. I'll get to that in a second. We got the Reapers being chased down there. One does get the gun down, but you have to realize that when RTS games came out, nobody actually was thinking about micro. Okay. RTS games were treated a lot like, and this is going to sound weird, but a lot like SimCity when these games first came out, which is kind of like, well, I'm going to make these guys over here, and I'm going to make these buildings and upgrade the stuff, and then eventually, it was actually Slayer's Boxer with the with Protoss. He started playing first. He got a shuttle and a Reaver, and I don't know how much you know about Bird War. You know what the Reaver was?
Yeah.
And he just figured out, wait a minute, well, this thing's slow, but if I just put it in a shuttle, I can fly around and just start dropping it at the corners of bases or in mineral lines and just start blowing stuff up.
Yeah.
And I mean, and what was crazy was the when the Scarab would fire, if it was picked up by a shuttle and dropped again, it erased the cooldown. So they have this like machine gun Reaver.
OP.
And then it was totally OP. And Blizzard actually they fixed it in a patch, and that's when he stopped playing Protoss and switched to Terran and started doing it with vultures.
Yeah.
In drop ships.
Yeah. So there you go, just a bit of history about Boxer.
Yeah. But like this is the guy who mentored Ryung. And of course, I mean, Slayer's Boxer had a lot of brilliant just strategy stuff too, but it's kind of crazy. Like he's this milestone in the way that we understood RTS, where it's like, oh, well, I guess if you are really good at controlling these few units, I mean, you can kind of do anything with them, right? And that's why we see all these crazy fights, like we were seeing earlier here, where players are trying to figure out, okay, where can I position stuff? How can I spot for this? When do I run away? And I mean, StarCraft's really evolved a great amount since that.
Yeah, I mean, people even trying to replicate the Reaver drop with the Disruptor drop. It's not quite as strong, especially because once it happens once, especially if you're doing it against a Terran, they're just always going to have stuff there, and they can snipe your Warp Prison, they can snipe the Disruptor before it goes off. It's not quite as strong, from what I can tell. but players do it every once in a while to try to style on their opponents.
Looks like he actually might be able to get some kills here. Well, maybe he's got to get him down to 0. Okay, so he does take one out there, and finally Ryung manages to clean the rest of that up.
Yeah, not a bad bit of damage there. Just comes in and scouts even that the 2 gases are coming up, but nothing too strange. You see Reality taking his own gases now at the 3rd base, and both these players just macroing up. Not too much action. Excuse me. It's just like they're sending in some units into the base to get a little bit of scouting, and then now is where they're eventually going to start moving out and start dropping here.
Yeah, well, I don't really blame them for not doing anything too dramatic early on. This is a map that if you macro, you always reap the rewards, and it's a map, like I said, this is, I believe, historically the map that is made for the longest Starcraft 2 games.
I mean, just looking at it, you can kind of guess.
Somebody feel free to fact check me on that one, but I believe, just off the top of my head, I don't think I've seen a map that even comes close to the sheer length of games.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest 2-player map, and it has a very defendable 3rd base.
Let me say this, though. In Legacy of the Void, okay, because Legacy of the Void games are actually generally a little bit shorter than Heart of the Swarm, because I think the changes that Blizzard made were great, where we actually just get into the macro game right away.
Yeah.
Because you have more workers and everything like that to start off.
So we had a bit of an upgrade lead here for Reality. He still has it for now, but I think he just finished his armory, and he hasn't started the 2-2 right away. So kind of unfortunate there. He is going to have the combat shields coming out here first, so he may want to time something out with that. He's going for a drop, but Ryung has had these 2 Vikings patrolling here for ever since he built them, so about a minute or so.
And yeah, we got the towers up here to spot, and see this area that we have a shot of right here. This is the most important part of the map, especially in a Terran vs. Terran, because this is the part where if you can control this, they can't get onto your side of the map. If you can push it any further, you've got them locked in and you have access to the other parts of the map that you want to take. Now, if you look at this map and break it up into quadrants, right? For the blue Terran, in this case Reality, the upper left quadrant of the map, that's where he's going to be taking later on. And for Ryung, it's going to be the bottom right quadrant. In some cases, though, if you can cut them off from that location, you can start occupying those areas as well. And we're going to see exactly how they try to choke each other out in this game as time passes.
Yeah, we see finally Ryung moving out with all of his forces. I thought Reality was going to move out, but he actually was just going for some tank drops in the middle of the map to control that area you were talking about. Ryung going for a scan even, and just sizing up the army of Reality, deciding how to come in here.
Now, TVT gets turned on its head really fast, so you got to be like really careful when you engage. Marines and siege tanks in siege mode basically do the most damage in the game. I mean, I know there's like disruptors that blow up and stuff, but really, if you just look at the rate at which they're firing, the DPS is crazy. So you have to be like always ready for the fight. You can have a better army, and if you're hit at the right angle, you will still lose. You will still lose the whole game.
It's generally why they say TVT is one of the most skill-based matchups, because you always have to be the aggressor, essentially, if you want to be winning. You have to out-position your opponents. You got to get your tanks into a position where they can fire on the Marines and not get surrounded by the Marines. It turns into this game of chicken, too, where it's like who's going to drop their tanks first, and who's going to get the better position on the map. So
I was actually opposed to tanks being able to be picked up in medevacs, and now that I look at it, I'm like, no, this is awesome.
No,
I actually really like it. Initially, I was like, well, that's just crazy. That's going to change everything. I'm not sure how I feel about that, said Grandpa Tasteless and Grumpy. Grumpy Grandpa Tasteless said, that's not music. Turn it off. The young kids listen to bad music.
Grandpa doesn't like change.
I don't like change. But now in this iteration of the game, I think it's actually really great. I mean, it's made TVT kind of this crazy on a knife's edge matchup.
Yeah, it's really fun. You can see both these players posturing in the middle of the map, trying to do what we were talking about, get that position. You see Reality trying to go for multiple drops, whereas Ryung has just been pretty straightforward. I don't think he's gone for a single one. Yeah, if he has, it's been pushed back.
Reality is, oh no. Okay, that is somehow barely going to survive. Well, maybe not. Reality for a little bit there was in a better position, but it looks like he's been bullied back here by Ryung. Now, if Reality... Well, actually, hold that thought. Ryung is going to take the center right expansion. Reality's actually on an extra base, though, compared to Ryung. So Ryung is going to either have to expand himself or attack.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised with how passively he's been expanding. Reality has been very greedy, which is good on a map this big. You know, put down your sensor towers, make sure you're safe to drops, be out in the middle of the map, be active, but then just make a bunch of bases. You see he just made 3 extra command centers after he has already 5 bases.
Well, a lot of this map, this is kind of like, this is going to sound weird, but this map is a little bit like Hungry Hippos. You know that game?
Yeah.
Hungry Hippos.
Eat up all the minerals on the map as fast as possible.
You want to actually just eat up all the minerals. And because a lot of games on this map do, or not a lot, but many games on this map can come down to who just mined out more, because a lot of times you can't attack into each other, so you kind of just suck up all the minerals in the map, and then hopefully you have more, and you can use those tools, those resources to purchase the tools to eventually end the game. We also got Ryung over here on the right. Looks like he's trying to push in here. And I notice the map is covered in sensor towers here.
Yeah, looking like a bunch of Venn diagrams all intersecting with each other.
Crazy alternative Olympic rings over here. But Ryung might be pushing in. Now, did Reality spend too much on command centers here? I mean, they're both maxed out, and they both have a lot in the bank. But Ryung may be able to push in here if he can just get Reality in a bad position, stim up, siege up, and break him.
Yeah, we got more medevacs here and actually tanks for Reality, whereas Ryung actually, this is a nice move, by the way, going to take out this base and no cancel even. Ryung just decided to go with more Marines and you know, less medevacs, less tanks. So we'll see if that pays off for him. We did just have him finish 3-3. I think Reality is actually behind on that right now.
Okay, here we go. The push is actually happening. Stimming up and coming in from the top is Reality. The arc is looking pretty good here for Ryung. It looks like he might be able to break him over here in the center left. And with the tank advantage, Marine advantage, and medevac advantage, it's going to be Ryung shoving through now, trying to get onto the left side of the map.
That was just a really nice move. He jumps on top of that army. Reality actually getting a little bit out of position.
It was actually, whoa. Meanwhile, in the upper right, Reality doing some damage of his own, already taking out a ton of SCVs. Guns down the armory. These SCVs have not been pulled out just yet, as these guys are both trading blows.
Oh, and look at this. Ryung is trying to do his own damage, but Reality is going to save that orbital. He will lose the one in the top left, but still Ryung hasn't dealt with the drop in his main. It looks like he's dealing with it right now. Yeah, he has to take a bunch of damage here.
Yeah, I guess he's just going to let the Marines that have rallied out of the barracks try to take care of this. Now he's gunned down these command centers over here in the top left. Now that's not the end of the world for Reality, as those are kind of peripheral expansions. We are at the point in time, though, where they are actually spending all the money that they saved back up. Their money's now dropping back down. But I got to say, I think Ryung did a really good job of breaking him. And Reality's going to have to push back, but it's going to be tricky with Ryung controlling that upper left quadrant with that small army.
Yeah, the drop, I feel, actually favors Ryung in a weird way, because now he's got a bigger maxed army. This is always the case in TVT where you don't want to have too many SCVs. So now that he lost a bunch of SCVs is really good. Obviously, getting denied from the +3 to vehicle weapons is bad, and he does have to remake that and start upgrading that, but...
Okay, he's trying to chase him back down. The tanks are moving out. He actually might be able to get a good position over here. Remember, Ryung has not actually expanded to this one base that it's pretty common to take. It looks like he's going to save that for later and just keep expanding down to the bottom right. And I do like what you said back there, Valdez, is even though he lost SCVs, what's funny is eventually, you know, if you're maxed out like this and you can't even really spend your money, you actually want less SCVs in the long run.
Oh, and here we go. Reality's going to drop down, and he gets his tanks into a really nice spot. Ryung is not fighting with all of his tanks here.
Yeah, it was interesting. We saw Ryung not quite watching his army. He was moving it, and he didn't quite stim in time. And that extra damage really allowed Reality to shave off a good amount of that. It's now 164 supply to 128. That battle was like 3 seconds long. And that goes to show you how fast damage can be dealt in TVT.
Yeah, it's really cool. We do see a bit of a transition here from Ryung, too. He's making more expensive units, going for more Vikings and Liberators instead of just straight-up Marine tank medevac. So trying to mix it up a bit. We'll see if that works out for him. It's going to take him a little bit longer to max out here.
Okay. Reality is still gathered up here in the middle, and it's Reality in the better position. Just like a game of chess, he's controlling the middle of the board right now. And that means that Ryung is going to have to rely a lot more on drops. But if Ryung drops too much, in one location and doesn't have a steady hold here on this middle location, a little bit to the right, in the upper right of our screen here. If he drops too much somewhere else, that may trigger Reality to unsiege or pick up, I guess in this case, and stem up and just dive in and then kill Ryung. So Ryung is in a real tightrope act.
Yeah, and taking a look at the units here, Reality actually has double the Vikings of Ryung, so it may actually just be Ryung trying to catch up here. And here we go, Reality pushing in towards that 5th base once again, trying to get those tanks into position. Looks like those Vikings doing a nice bit of damage too. He does have the lead there, and it's really hard for Ryung to deal with those in the sky.
Yeah, if Reality can get a little bit further in here, Ryung's going to lose the game.
And by the way, getting close.
Yeah, and Reality is like so close to closing this game. He's so close to sealing the deal, and Ryung knows it. Like, this is a really bad spot to be in. If he can just get a siege tank, okay, excuse me, he already has one there. I was going to say in range of the command center. That's when the pressure starts to mount for Ryung. Ryung actually has to react. And this is kind of his cash cow, is this base over here, which, by the way, he's not even mining gas from.
I would love to see also Reality just bring a couple of tanks down to the base below him, because that's totally undefended. He could just do that. I'm not sure if he knows it's up.
He might not. He should assume, though, considering how many bases he has,
Where are those Vikings going? Either way, here we go. Jumping in now, stimming into the tank line.
And we got some more Marines coming up here now. Great job picking up those siege tanks and backing up. Very nicely done there. However, Ryung has actually set these tanks up now in range to keep Reality's tank count down and far away. They're both re-macroing up. Now notice they're not quite with enough minerals. Oh, that's unfortunate. He could just use that right away. If he just has the EPM to start to activate that tank.
That's the idea there, of course, but he just hasn't dealt with that yet. Looks like these Vikings may have been dealing with potential drops. He could actually try to drop them down and harass a bit, but not going to do that. But that move that Ryung did, stimming into that line, was actually to take out all the Vikings, and that took away a lot of the pressure. So he actually keeps that base up. And we're kind of even now once again in this game. Reality definitely still has the better position in the middle of the map.
Yeah, Reality's very close to winning this, but Ryung did beat him back a little bit. And one or two more mistakes from Reality, and Ryung will just completely be back in this game. But again, Ryung just in a very uncomfortable spot.
Yeah, he's just struggling to hang on here. And you can see that Reality is really favoring that high Viking count. Going up to a very high number once again, whereas Ryung is just going for a lot of Liberators. He may just try to straight up fight the Vikings here in the sky and then use the rest to cover the ground as well. Kind of just have a lot of siege units in both the tanks and the Liberators.
It's kind of this weird matchup the way it works, but yeah, you need to have this right balance of each of these special units, the Vikings, the Liberators, the Medevacs, the tanks, and the Marines as well. Well, hold up. I think Reality might be able to just go for this. It's got to be careful, though. That is a planetary. If you get too far in there and you start to lose the fight, everything is going to die. Okay, it looks like he's interested in perhaps coming in over here on the side. He's trying to find a location where the tanks are not, and inadvertently he stumbles upon this base, which he probably could have hit much earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And so this base is going to go down. Ryung can't really contest. Ryung may try to break out here, though, in the center left.
Oh, and he's going to stem in onto these unprotected tanks and take out every single one of them. He does lose that base in the bottom right, but at least he takes some pressure off the middle of the map. He is down on army supply at the moment, but he is evening up at the same time. We'll see if he can deal with the army of Reality here.
Okay, because he's lost that center spot, it's going to be up to Reality now to try to come in right here. This is the key expansion for Ryung. Ryung has to keep this alive, and Ryung is not turning around. Ryung going into the main. We got a base trade on our hands here, Valdez.
Here he goes, stimming up to the third base. He does lose his base back at home, but he wants to go for the third. He wants to get immediately onto that production here in Reality's base.
This is actually a crazy play, but this might be the smartest thing that Ryung could do in this instance. But even crazier is the fact that Reality can actually go into the main and do the exact same thing potentially. No! He's driven back out here by Ryung. Ryung is going to keep his main intact, but it's going to be Reality with the economics here, more money in the coffers.
Ryung is actually reacting to this very, very well, shaving off a lot of those units here, and now that he's taken all the production away, Reality can't make anything else, so that's the only army he's going to have in this game, and Ryung's is much bigger.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy, right? Like Ryung is actually keeping his production, but then again, he can't make anything, Valdez. I wonder actually if Reality should have picked up and just taken out this army back here in his main. He also might want to start remaking all of his barracks, all of his factories, and what have you in the upper left.
He's actually making it in the bottom right, which is kind of a strange
well,
place on the map.
It's actually pretty smart because that's just not where Ryung is going to look, right?
Yeah.
He's just not going to check that location.
He's going to expect him to be more in the top left, but only CCs are up there. You can see he's actually making stuff in the base of Ryung, too.
That's actually a very odd choice. Okay, all right, hold on a second. This is getting to be like a really weird game. Let's reevaluate this. There's several bases here in the upper left, but there's nothing to defend. And if Ryung does not send some army back there to save those bases, or if Reality doesn't send some of his army back to save those bases, Reality is going to be in the worst position here. Because
yeah, he's just trying to mine up as much as possible and then eventually produce out of these buildings that he's remaking here on the map.
Yeah, you know what? I guess he's going to remake all of his production, and then he's just going to take an expansion in the center right and just kind of go from there. It just seems a bit odd, right? Like you think he would have pulled everything out. Now, do we have? Hold on a sec. I'm going to check on the preview.
Flight of the
PC.
Barracks here.
Do we have command centers floating in this game? We have one. Yeah, we have 2 floating command centers for Ryung that I've found.
In reality, he's still got 4 from what it looks like. 3 in the top left and 1 in that center right position. And it looks like, in fact, Ryung was attacking the barracks there in the bottom right, but he didn't commit to it. But he has seen it.
So it's 96 supply for Reality, 109 for Ryung, worker count 35 for Reality, and 21 for Ryung.
You know, Ryung, I feel like he may have wanted to go back and kill the army, actually, because, you know, it's easy for us to say because we can see the supply and we see he's got more stuff, and he doesn't know exactly what Reality's got right now. But if he had forced the fight, then there's no way, really, that Reality could come back as long as he doesn't botch the fight. But now that Reality's getting bases up, he's building more stuff, he's catching up in this game. This is going to be some kind of weird reset in this game.
Yeah, this is actually one of the crazier TVTs I've casted.
And this is what happens on this kind of map, too.
Yeah. Well, this, you know, TVT is one of my favorite matchups. In any iteration of StarCraft, I've always loved it. It just makes for such interesting games. But now we've got this situation where they both swapped locations. We have, like, Ryung completely dislocated here in the upper left. Now he's taking out some more of these command centers here for Reality. It's actually pretty important that Reality keeps as many of those command centers alive as possible because he can use those to drop mules and also scan. And scans are going to be also quite important in this game because, you know, everybody is all over the place here.
Yeah, I can't believe Ryung actually let that orbital stay up. I think he missed that one. The Marines were auto-firing there. So Reality keeps another CC alive. And in the meantime, Ryung is taking his own bases. He's got 2 CCs up. These guys are meeting in the middle of the map once again with very even armies. Almost exactly the same, in fact. You can see the units there.
Now, guys, you see this picture here, right? Remember that it was actually Reality on the left side of the map, bottom left, and Ryung on the upper right. And now we have them, once again, when everything's calmed down, they are in the exact same location, trying to control the center. This, and you know what, man, this could, once again, they could try a base trade again. I mean, that is completely possible. But what a funny-looking game we've got. Now, overall, it looks like there's more bases and more mining opportunities set up for Reality, and that's one thing he's got going for him.
Yeah, he actually just took over that base, so it's going to be 2-1. But Reality, or rather Ryung, is flying one of his orbitals over here to this location near his racks, so it is going to even up at 2-2. Also, this base doesn't have much mining left over. He should actually transfer some over to this base, but there's a lot going on in this game. It's understandable. We actually, Ryung wasn't mining gas for a while. It looks like he just wanted to get a lot of Marines out on the map. And that he did, but he's going to begin mining gas too here as well.
Okay, this is just so cool. I don't know where this game goes from here. They're both at about 120 supply, roughly. There's still a lot of bases on the map. I mean, this game could actually go on for like an hour, and I'm not even joking. Because
could just reset from here.
Yeah, because now what do? Well, I guess the only logical thing to do is to just go back and start mining and start rebuilding what a Terran's supposed to have in a TVT. And because there's nobody with a clear and definite, you know, real tremendous lead, there's no reason why a player would necessarily be inclined to attack the other one. right?
Yeah. I would love to see some drops here, actually. Lots of medevacs still left over for both these players. I feel like Ryung's got his bases a little bit more protected, and he has
less to
definitely
protect
go for the
too.
drop.
Yeah,
he could definitely go for the drop towards that base. He knows where the CC is too. Looks like Reality's going to be the first one to do it.
And I think it was wise that he sent Marines here, hitting. They can hit air and ground. They can be healed up, and you need the tanks there in the center because that's really what's keeping the other player from actually just diving on top of you.
It's going to be a nice drop. It looks like he wants to come behind, essentially. And Ryung's army is nearby, but will he be ready to get on top of that and defend that? I'm not 100% sure. It looks like he just wants to take the fight and not actually go for his own drop here.
Okay, now this might work out really well for Reality. He's going to stim. He's going to come down here. And let me tell you something, man. Taking out these depots is actually pretty big. These guys are both in a low econ game. Any structure that you take out that they have to remake is huge. Supply blocking him right now. He stims. He backs up. Ryung is in the chase right now. Reality wants to fight on the ramp, and Ryung decides it's probably better to wait.
Oh, look at that. Reality wanted to pounce onto Ryung, but Ryung is not moving. Look at all those tanks grouped up. It's like a cube, a box, a square of tanks there.
Yeah, man. It's like 3x3 there.
The ultimate defense.
A tank square.
Imagine if you could attach them and just carry them all in like
if you got your siege
medevacs.
tanks. Imagine if you got your siege tanks to target that center siege tank in the tank square. They would all those tanks. Yeah, if you could just bait out some shots and then just drop right there and just get that right click on that center of those tanks, that would be huge. Okay, he's dropping once again. He's just going to see what he can kill here. There's not much, but I guess, okay, if he gets the command center, that's good enough.
Yeah, it looks like he wants to get onto that, but the repair is going to come in here.
Now, the problem, though, is that when Reality loses this fight, that's actually a lot of units that he's lost. I mean, this is a scrappy game, Valdez. These guys are both on low workers, and they've got pretty tough armies, but anytime a big chunk of that army is shaved off, it's bad.
Yeah, that is for sure.
I like this base in the bottom center. Look at that.
He needs to start mining from it, though. You know, he's not actually muling over there. He's not doing much.
Not muling?
Yeah, he's not muling up.
Well, you can see Reality's itching to try to break through here on the left side. I don't know if Ryung is going to let that happen, though.
This is such a crazy game. Like,
it really is.
Watching right now. This is why Starcraft is awesome.
No, this is exactly why you have this crazy-ass game like this. We're like so deep in the Terran vs. Terran rabbit hole, folks.
And it does go deeper, believe me.
Oh, it goes very deep. Oh, here comes Ryung now. He's stimming. He's dropping in. And Reality is attempting to hold this off. The Marines stutter step micro forward, but too many tanks from Reality remain.
That was not ever going to work out. GG. Reality takes the win in an incredible game. Oh, boy.
That was awesome. That was so good. One of the best TVTs I've seen. They literally traded spots and had to start back over. But it looks like the pressure just hit Ryung.
Yeah.
And he went for it.
He got too itchy. It was a game of chicken. Who was going to move in first? And
exactly.
Ryung did it. It was the wrong move. He kind of stimmed right into a tank line, and he didn't drop his tanks soon enough, so he just lost everything. That's going to bring us now to Game 4. Samsung is 1 win away from being our championship team here tonight. So there you go. What a long one. It felt like we definitely did go very deep into that rabbit hole. Was that like 35 minutes or something? 30 minutes, looks like. 30 minutes, just about. Right. Man, crazy. Well, I got to feel bad for Ryung there because that was a tough spot. And by the way, he was not in a great place right at around the proper mid game. It was like Reality had a pretty good hold on him. Yeah. And then Ryung had this crazy, like just all out attack, went to the base trade, managed to survive, but then it's like it's like we've finally gotten that far. It's like, you know, when like they've got the satellite as far out in space as it has ever been, and it's like, well, we don't even know exactly where it goes. What do you do now? Yeah, we are as far away from Earth as possible, and we just have to find out now how this TVT is supposed to turn out from here.
I think that game actually could have gone on for much longer, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, they could have maxed out again. It seems like they weren't. They were just using all of their minerals and gas, obviously, on units. They weren't really interested in expanding too much.
Neither player was actually remaking SCVs either.
Yeah.
I think Ryung was on 19 SCVs for like a long time, which is pretty weird.
And Ryung had the gold base, but he never used it. He couldn't transfer any SCVs over there. And he looked like he wasn't muling too much. Maybe they had just expired when we looked at the base.
Well, it's tricky, too, because you want to scan. You want to check where that army is. You want to check where the other bases are.
And you only had like 3 orbitals, I think he had. So
you know, something we've not really talked about, but we haven't had like a ton of TVTs on that map. But when we saw Ryung attacking in, there's like a little cavity on that map that he was trying to run around.
Yeah.
And that's where all the rest of the siege tank damage came in, is when Ryung was trying to get some of those Marines over to that area.
Yeah.
Like, in a perfect world, if you're Terran and you want to bust the other guy, obviously you have to have either the same or more, but you want to have like no obstructions on the ground.
Yeah.
If you just had like
clear path,
like
straight forward.
The worst StarCraft 2 map ever made, and there were like no ramps or ridges, or like it was just literally this bare naked map that like has only
flat ground,
only minerals, flat ground. That's where you'd want to do that surround. But obviously we don't play on maps like that because that would be horrible. So he had to make this tough call and try to go into this kind of rocky terrain. He couldn't get the setup there, and he just didn't manage to pull off the attack.